Hello and welcome to another episode of the Jimmy Rex Show. Today I have probably going to be the funnest person I ever get on the show.
Yay! That's what I want to hear.
This is Kass Martin, a very good friend of mine, goes back quite a ways. And Kass has really come on the scene these last 10 years as kind of the face of Zumba. Is that the best way to say it, I guess? Because well, let's go right to it. You have a Nintendo Wii version of yourself. What is that like?
You know, that is one of the weirdest things. It's a question that people ask me a lot. They say, what is like the weirdest capacity that you see yourself in? And when we're playing the Wii or like the Xbox and you get to actually play me and I'm playing with my husband and kids, that's just crazy. It's just very like surreal because you do a project and you kind of close the project and you sort of forget to emotionally attach to it maybe.
Yeah.
But it's something that I'll always be able to look back on and be like, I'm stuck in my rocker now,
well,
but
yeah,
I used to be able to move.
Well, no, it's pretty awesome. You're the only person I know that has a Nintendo Wii version of themselves.
That's cool.
But let's rewind a little bit because before you were this exercise phenom sensation, you had just had your second child, and you essentially got into exercising just to kind of get back in shape. Is that right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that journey.
So I grew up with my mom has taught fitness classes for ever. I mean, when I was a baby, I would go to her fitness classes. So she taught step aerobics and toning, and so I grew up thinking I'm never going to do that. I never wanted to be a fitness instructor because I saw all the work that she put into it, and I really had a fear of failure. My mom was so good at what she did, and I really didn't ever think I could compare to that. And I can now identify that as a fear of failure, but at the time I was like, oh, no, it's just not my thing, because I just wasn't willing to try. But I had 2 kids, and I was really like, my daughter came out kicking and screaming. I mean, she did not stop crying for like 2.5 years. And I was really like, I'm going crazy.
You just need to get out of the house.
I needed to get out of the house, or someone was going to have to move out. There was not enough room. And so my mom said, I think now is the time. Why don't you start teaching? And what she knew about group fitness that I didn't know yet is that the people that you meet within group fitness help lighten those burdens for you. You now have new people that you see every day who relate to you. They kind of bring a social aspect back into your life. So as a stay-at-home mom, that was a real big deal for me, and I saw people all the time. Well,
I've actually heard that a lot of stay-at-home moms kind of end up getting a little bit of depression because they don't have any adults that they're talking to all day, right? They're just talking to their kids.
You lose your sense of self. And I think being a mom is my favorite thing that I do.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're a mom, your primary goal is to take care of them. So you forget about like what food you really like, what music you really like, what shows you really want to watch, because you're watching things that are all kid appropriate, and you're like, oh my gosh, who am I? And what is this body? And I have no friends. And so I started teaching, and a light just turned on. And then the owner of the gym said, hey, we want to add Zumba fitness to our gym.
Had you ever heard of Zumba? Because this is 2008?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'd never heard of Zumba fitness. And they said, oh, yeah, it's super fun. So I went to one class with my sister because she went. And she was like, that was a cool class. You should come. So we went to that class, and I've gone to the gym since they would allow me to go in because my mom was always an instructor. But that was the first time I left a workout with the feeling of that was fun. Not, wow, that feels good, or wow, that did my body good, or I'm glad I did it. It was literally like, that was freaking fun.
And for those that have never done Zumba, explain real quick, why is it so fun? What is it about Zumba that makes it so fun? What are you doing?
If I could put it into a feeling, it feels like you're at a dance club. If it's done right. Okay, so people can do it their own little way. So what I try and create for people and for myself is that it feels like you're at a dance club. But the worst thing about going clubbing, I got married when I was 20, so I didn't really ever go clubbing. But number one, you don't know what moves to do. Number two, you kind of have a fear of like someone's going to come up and be like, eh, and like
sure,
try and
their
dance
inappropriate
with you,
dancing,
and you're like, no, that's not why I'm here. So you end up just kind of feeling stupid and doing a move that doesn't really move you. You go into a Zumba class, you're going to have all different varieties of rhythms and intensity and fitness variations sort of disguised into a workout. So you have the workout aspect, you can burn a ton of calories. I sweat more in a Zumba class than any other workout.
Wow.
And I am dancing and letting the music just move me, and it really is just like you feel like you're young again.
Yeah.
And you're not stressed, and it is so fun.
So that's great. So that's I can see why that would be so addicting and so much fun if you feel like you get the club feel, yet you don't have to worry about random guys coming up to you. Do any guys do Zumba, or is it mostly females in your classes?
Okay, this is the question I get a ton. So the creator is a guy.
Right.
And we have a team. Something I do for Zumba is I work on their education team. So I train people how to be instructors. And then I work with an education within the instructors. And on our team, there are so many guys, but the max I've ever had in a class, and I think that there was like 110 people. It was at the gym, and it was like on a holiday, and a bunch of people were there, and there was 11 guys. And I was like super, super happy about that, but the truth is, that's where the guys should be.
Well, I was going to say, it sounds like it might be a great place
Right?
to go meet some super motivated women, right?
I mean, and they did a study. They said that you can gain more confidence in 1 hour of Zumba than 3 months of working out by yourself, like in the gym, on the treadmill. So there is something, I think that they've really captured the community of it. I think that, like, my husband does CrossFit, and that's something that he loves about CrossFit is that community aspect. And so any company that can grasp that, which is really what you do with your business as well, is you don't make it about sales. You really are building a community of trust. Any company that does that, they've
Well, I read a book, it's basically about how to get fans, just raving fans, right? It's a book that's actually called Raving Fans, and
I'm gonna
just
totally go read
it's an amazing book, yeah, and it's just a good way to you get people. It's the difference between somebody hearing, for example, that they want to sell. If you hear somebody say, "Oh yeah, I might sell my house," and you make, "Oh, I have a friend, you should call him," and the difference between that versus if you're a raving fan, you're like, "Oh, you have to use my friend Jimmy."
Totally.
And that's what.
Yeah, like stop right there. I know exactly who you need to call.
That's right. Yeah. So
I
that's
love
kind of what that's what Zumba and CrossFit have done so well, is you really do have a culture behind it. One thing that I've heard you say in other interviews or things like that is you've quoted the quote that says, "People will forget what you did. People will forget who what you
say. They'll never forget how you make them feel."
Correct. And so how have you tried to incorporate that into your classes with the Zumba?
So when I first started working for Zumba, it was like the learning curve from hell. I started working in a lot of different departments that I had just never done. I was a stay-at-home mom, 2 young kids, and all of a sudden I was really being tossed opportunity in things that were far outside of my reach. And the one thing that I could hold on to was the one thing I have is relatability. People can see like their neighbor in me, or their colleague in me, or their sister or their wife or their cousin in me. And so I really try to just bring authenticity from the start and relatability. And in my classes, I think the best thing that you can do is feel comfortable in your skin so people can feel comfortable in theirs. So in trying to make people feel something is I let go of ego and problems, and my goal is to make them feel happy in that hour, because life does not play favorites. And I know they're going through things, and I truly appreciate them for coming.
Well, that's awesome, and I think that goes to speak of, when we first met, it was in a couples trip in Lake Powell. I was the one single guy they let come. I had a date with me. I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah, I do.
And it was quite the trip actually. But it was funny because there was never a doubt from then on forward. Every year you and Brian, your husband, were going to be invited back. In fact, your husband is such a great guy. But I remember I had some issues with my date, if you recall. We threw her in the lake playing around, joking.
She didn't find it funny.
She did not find it funny, and she ended up throwing all my stuff in the lake.
Yeah.
And it was Brian, your husband, that came up, and he's such a great guy. He comes up and he just like, Jimmy, I'm going to tell you something. I don't want you to react or get upset, but all of your stuff's in the lake.
Yeah. Just so you know.
That was, it's funny because me and that girl at the time, we ended up actually, that didn't go well, obviously, that trip. And I was like, man, these people are all like these successful couples and these power couples, and I'm show up like this idiot. But all you guys were so great, and you especially, everybody was just like, Jimmy, that was not on you. Like, we
totally, because we were like, this guy is the freaking coolest guy we've seen in ages, and your energy, but that is something that you do, is you take that same concept of, we might forget what you say, we might forget what you do, we never forget the way that you make people feel.
That's right.
And you created that space of just like, come as you are, we're here to have a good time, and when somebody throws the person who's creating that feeling's clothing into the lake, it's like, no. She crossed the line.
Yeah, no, it was pretty funny. It was like, I look back, I laugh out loud, because some of my best friends in the world, from you guys, the Marshall, came from that trip. But here's something that was kind of cool to me. It was like both how you guys all reacted, but then how I reacted to a weird situation. And that could have blown up if I get mad at her and I start yelling and being a jerk. You guys are, this guy's a jerk. But, it was just kind of funny. But, well, tell me, so as you got into Zumba, how did you become the face of Zumba? Like, what was that path? What happened there?
The weirdest thing is, so I walked out of my training when I became an instructor with, for the first time in my life, I said, this is something I'm going to be passionate about. I knew that I had found a good niche for me, because Zumba has guidelines, but they really say, but bring you to the table. And I taught a different fitness format before, and they said, if you don't use this music, if you don't use these moves, you cannot use this trademark. And so I was stuck doing all these weird moves that just totally made me feel lame. So I felt insecure when I was going into my classes, and when you feel insecure, you cannot make other people feel secure because you're too worried about yourself. So when I went to that Zumba training, I was like, okay, this is cool. I get to bring me. And there was an audition for a new position in the company called a Zumba jammer. And what that person would do was do choreography sessions for other instructors. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. I'm going to apply. And my husband's kind of like, okay, wait, what are you doing? And I said, listen, our philosophy has always been go for everything, and then we can taper down from there. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Because he always comes first, and he's always known that. So if I go and I apply for something, it doesn't work, no big deal. So I had to go to convention to be trained for this position. And at convention, I truly felt like the stars aligned. And at that time, I met the CEO, I met the CMO, I met the creator, I met the chief of global relations. I met all these people there, but they meet everybody. That's what they do, is they truly go in, they greet the people in their company. So I was really happy about it, but I didn't think much of it. But I got an email after, and they said, hey, do you want to come audition for the next set of DVDs? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I haven't had a plan on a Friday in a long time. So I went to Florida. I had no idea what was happening. I get picked up in a car, and I'm just so out of my comfort zone. I don't think I had taken a trip in years. And I said, so what is this audition about? I'm wearing neon. I'm going to be seen. If I'm going all the way to Florida, I'm wearing neon. And she said, oh, it's just you at Beto's class, and we're just going to go to his class. And he's the creator. I've been watching him on DVDs for 2 years straight and learning from him and using him as my e-mentor, And I'm like, okay, so we're going to his class. I went to his class. He called me up on stage, and he jumped off. And I'm leading his class for a song I do not know, and dying inside, but just, I'm going to smile, and I'm just going to live up this moment the best I can. And he likes to see how people react in situations like that. Then he said, hey, take this CD to the hotel, create a routine, and come show me tomorrow.
Wow.
And I was like, perfect, no problem. Inside, I'm freaking out. I'm calling my sister at the Burger King across the hall from the hotel, and I'm like, oh my gosh, can you believe this? I saw Beto. He talked with me. He gave me an assignment. I'm going to do this. So the next day, I showed him the routine, and I don't know how or why, but they picked me for that DVD. But then they need somebody to talk about the DVD on this big marketing blitz. And I love to talk about Zumba. And I think that they truly needed like a middle America look because they were going to bring it onto QVC.
Sure. So you were kind of the avatar for their perfect audience anyway, right?
I just sort of came in at the right time with the attitude of whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. Have I done it before? Oh, hell no. But I'll try.
Well, and I think there's a lot of lessons though in that story. You know, things that you did. I mean, you just went and did. You didn't overthink it.
No.
You didn't panic in the moment. You went. You were prepared because you've been doing it for a couple of years. Well, and so as you start getting going, was there some failures along the way that you had that were helped you as a teacher?
Catastrophic.
Let's talk about it.
Something when you're teaching. I mean, my theory is you do your best. Don't get nervous. Because getting nervous usually creates negative emotions, which will create negative actions. So I always think, okay, what can I bring to the table? I can bring me. If they never want me to come sell these on QVC again or ever do a TV show again, then that's okay. But at least I brought me so that I knew that if that opportunity was gone, it wasn't meant for me. But if I'm nervous and I'm freaking out and then I'm not talking normal and I feel so weird, then I'll feel like I let myself down. So when I was teaching, I mean, one of my first classes, even as an instructor, was my mom and this guy, Joe Flores. And I'm like, okay. So my mom came out of complete pity. And I have one guy, and I better make it so fun for that one guy that he tells everybody, because I need more than 2 people. And I've had people come up and say, oh, you know, I like my instructor, and you were okay, but you're not that good, or you're too this, you're too that, you're too this, you're too that. And people would write me, actually, I get all kinds of emails and notifications of what people want to tell me that I do wrong.
Sure.
And Brian, my husband, he's just, I love how you described that situation with Powell, because that is just him. He's like, no need to react too big on this, but let me tell you the situation here. And I'd have people say things that would really hurt my feelings. And I'd have people walk out of my class, and he just said, why do you care?
Yeah. Well,
all that matters is us. It's okay.
I love the attitude that you had, too, when you had 2 people, and there's essentially one person in the class. But I had James Murray from Impractical Jokers on a few months ago, and, you know, he talked about his troupe once had to perform in front of, like, 2 people.
Yeah.
But they said, like, this is going to be our best, you know.
You're going to give it your all.
It doesn't matter how many people are listening, how many people are in your class. You're going to give it everything that you have.
So one of my biggest challenges, aside from Zumba, was I was my ward choir director. I don't even read music. And when they gave me that calling for church, a voluntary calling, I laughed. I'm like, I don't even read music, and you want me to lead the choir? And he said, yeah. I said, okay. So every Sunday I'd freak out, and my dad said, this is what you do. If you have 2 people, if you have 1 person, you make it the best solo. If you have 2 people, you make it the best duet. If you have 4 people, you make it the best quartet. And I've taken that philosophy of I will do my best for whoever is there and really try and make them know how much I appreciate them. And I also would change my mentality of, listen, if anything, I'm just getting my own workout. And if you're always learning, then you're always succeeding.
That's great.
So.
Well, and I think it's a great positive way to look at it, because too many times people look at when something doesn't work out as a failure.
Yeah.
But you actually, those are just learning opportunities,
totally.
Right? And those are the things that as you go through them and you grow, you don't ever go back to the person you were before. No. You've now moved on to a better person.
I tell people, just because something doesn't work doesn't mean that you don't work.
Yeah, it's great.
I've taught at time slots that are total disasters. I've done events that were total failures. I've had people walk out. I've had people come up afterward and tell me this and that. But then I also have to realize whatever I look for is what I'm going to see. So even if half the people left, half the people stayed. So that's doing something right for those people. And I've really learned from the get-go that what I tell myself is exactly how I will feel and act. And so not to tell myself lies, but to always find the ways for growing in the situation, and then I will always feel like I'm moving forward.
Wow, and you have such a great positive attitude. You just mentioned your dad a little bit ago. I know he passed away in 2012, and you've talked about how he was one of your heroes and an inspiration. Yeah. How did he make you feel, and how did he make other people around him feel? And then how have you incorporated that into your stuff?
You know, my dad made everybody feel that they were absolutely unique and uniquely loved by him. Everybody felt that he had time for them. Everybody felt love from them, or from him. And he just found a way to, first off, he always looked people in the eye. And that's something that we grew up, you pay your respect, shake their hand, look them in the eye. So learning those personal skills. So looking at people, calling them by name, and he always found something to say nice about them. And it wasn't fake, oh, you look nice. It was something specific. I like the way, you're something specific to them. I like the way that hair looks on you. I like the way that those shoes are. Your outfit looks very stylish today. I mean, it was something that you just felt it was authentic.
Yeah, you knew it wasn't his canned response. He'd actually put a little effort into thinking about it. I think a lot of people get in that trouble too, or they're trying to relate, but they have these canned responses, and it really is important to look at the person and actually, notice something about them or their appearance, even whatever it might be.
He was not afraid to show people that he loved them.
Very cool. And so is that a lot of what you use in your classes, try to take those lessons you learned?
Yeah, and I started teaching like 2 years or so before my sister started teaching. I'm the little sister, and I say I'm not bossy, I'm the boss. And there's totally a difference.
I would definitely agree with that.
And so she started teaching, and she had the same, fears that I did when I was teaching. And again, we went to our mentor, our guru, our dad, and he said, honey, all you need to do is love them. And I do think that I love that my students come. And for any event, even if I'm not feeling like up to teaching, because it's emotionally and physically, whatever, tasking, and I think, man, I love that person's here today. I love that person came. They took time to come and support me. I love that. And when you look at people with that way, there truly is something to love about everybody. Even if you don't even know them, there's something to appreciate with them. And my dad just made me feel like, well, if the shit hits the fan and all else fails, you are Mike Aiken's daughter. And I have to say, my mom also is the most positive person I've ever met. So I think with the two of them, it was kind of like, listen, you can let yourself get negative because life is hard. And even when he passed away, it was so hard. And I remember I took time off, and I was telling Brian, I said, I just think maybe I should take another week off. And Brian's like, no, you need to go and you need to see your students, and you need to feel that music, and you need to feel that energy. You gotta release some of this sadness. And I would teach through my tears. And those students were the ones who were like, I'll do anything you need. What do you need? So I learned that Zumba, or anything that you do, if you treat it truly it's about the people, it just goes so much further. And I don't always do a good job at this.
Well, and I think one of the things then, like you really touched on, is that community aspect of Zumba, right? And you felt that they were there for you as you'd been there for them for years and years. Yeah. With the DVDs and a little bit more of it going to an online and some of that kind of stuff, do you feel like some of those people miss out on the live class atmosphere?
That's a really good question. I think something that Zumba does is tries to create a space for everybody. Because there's a lot of people that, number one, don't have the confidence because they think that going into a live class is going to be super intimidating. When I'm like, you're a new student, awesome. Look at all these people. They're your new friends. You have way more friends now after this one class, So if people can't work out in a gym, they can always start at home. I have people in trainings all the time who started with the video game or the DVDs.
And that leads them into the classes later.
Then they get the confidence, or maybe their schedule changes and then they can go do a live class. Then the best compliment is when you as the instructor, when your students then say, you know what, I want to create that feeling for other people. I want to go take an instructor training. So it's kind of a cycle that Zumba realizes the importance kind of it all and how it works together as a
So most of the people doing the DVDs and the video game are probably also going to live classes, or they're building up to get to that
stage. Or
stage.
They start with the consumer DVD because they're at Target or Walmart or Costco or whatever, and they see the person on the front and they say,
see you on the front.
With that face. So they say, oh, okay, maybe I'll try that at home. And then some people don't even realize that there are classes. I mean, now you know that there are live classes everywhere. And Zumba makes it pretty easy. You can just log on and you can find a class within 5 miles of wherever you are, or 10 miles, or a certain time frame. So
that's great.
Very cool.
Well, and as somebody that has so much energy, I mean, I know in Lake Powell even, like every morning when, there would be 12 couples on the houseboat, and you all of a sudden we got these Zumba classes going on the upper deck of the houseboat or whatever. But do you ever just want to sit down and do a crossword puzzle? I know everyone that thinks of you thinks of this high energy.
You know, what's funny is when we do group things, I can't remember where, I think it was like New Year's Eve, I was with friends and kids and we're doing a big family thing, and they're like, dance, Kass, dance. And I kind of jokingly say, I only dance when I'm getting paid. Like, this is my job. I'm not, like, something I love to do is, my husband and I, we go to a movie a week. And we see almost every movie that's out there. And while I have the highs, I really know how to tone it down. And, like, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. And I love to do, like, Scrabble, and we play games. Like, I do online Scrabble with my mother-in-law. And I know that since I kind of work at a really high speed, that in order for me to continue doing my job, I have to be able to balance that, and so I can keep it pretty chill too.
I like that. Well, and I want to segue about how you never really wanted to go into being a career woman. You wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but as life just kind of happened, you became this career woman, and you've balanced that with being a parent. So what advice do you have to other women that are trying to go into their career and still balance being a mom at the same time?
It's hard. And when I first started, I was teaching, and my husband was working, he'd get home like at 6 p.m. Then he started working from home. And then it kind of created a space where I could have a little bit more freedom, and then opportunities sort of started happening with Zumba. So as it just kind of shifted at the right time, and what I always try and do is keep that balance of, I'm okay going and hanging out with my family looking like a total wreck, and I need them to know that when I am home, they can ask me to do anything. They're always top priority. They can call me anytime when I'm gone, and always really focusing on them. And even today with this podcast, I was like, okay, well, my kids get home at 3, and actually they're out of school today, but they're playing with their cousins, so it worked out perfect. But I lucked out because Brian is my partner in crime with it, and he handles my flights and my hotel and my rental cars and all my agreements and all my contracts and my calendar. And so we have a really good teamwork. But number one, I think that women or anybody, you have to dare to dream again. Give yourself permission to have a new dream. Because my dream was to be a stay-at-home mom. And I was marrying a dentist. Okay, well, Brian's not a dentist. That didn't work. That wasn't what happened. So then we kind of came back to the drawing board, and it's like, okay, this opportunity is coming, and I had to get over my fear of what people would think of me as a working mom. And our community is not used to that.
Yeah.
And I got backlash for it. And I still knew that as long as Brian and I were okay and our kids were okay, that is truly all that mattered. So if they're going for something new, first off, the belief in themselves, and also if they keep that intention of keeping their family unit strong, there really should be nothing that gets in the way of their success.
Well, what you said there was so important. I hope people listen to that. You said give yourself permission to change your dream or to dream again, right? That's awesome. I know on your Instagram, your quote on your Instagram is "Love your life," and I think it's "Love your life with fiercely."
Love your life and those in it fiercely.
Yes, thank you. So is that kind of where that sprung from a little bit of when you got this second wind towards what you wanted to do with your life?
You know, I didn't even have a passport.
And how many countries have you been to now?
I mean, I think I've taught in over almost 40 countries or something, and many of those a number of times. I'm going, like, in a month and a half, I'm going to Vietnam for the first time. Going to Indonesia, I've been there before. Growing up, if I couldn't drive there in our beat-up minivan, we didn't go. So I had to completely reshift my thinking, and as long as I was okay with my husband and my kids, I did not need to explain to other people my dream.
And how great that you recognized that.
Yeah,
and you were able to.
It was something I had to really, like, self-talk myself a lot. I talk to myself a lot.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people might be listening to this from outside of Utah. That's not the culture where they are. If you're in LA or New York or something, but here in Utah, there is a culture around women stay in the home sometimes, especially here in.
You have a lot of kids, and because we're a very faith and family centered state, which is why I love living here. Mm-hmm. But it's okay to be different than what your family thought you were going to be, what you thought you were going to be, what your husband thought you were going to be. Life is about evolving and staying true to your best self. So if those have to shift, that is okay. But if you're constantly worrying about other people giving you validation that it's okay, you will never be happy.
Wow, I love that. And I subscribe to Tony Robbins, everything he talks about.
He's so cool.
You've got the 6 human needs. And what I realized as I got older, because people would always be like, married life's the best, or single life's the best, or this job's the best. And we're all wired so differently that what you just said is you have to really find what works for you. Because one person sincerely might be their happiest being a stay-at-home mom.
Totally.
But somebody else really might thrive and be their most fulfilled, happy self, traveling to 40 countries and on the stage and doing this thing. So I think that permission, like you said too, you don't have to be what your family thought you were going to be. You don't have to be, I'm very different than everyone else in my family. And I'm lucky. I have a family that they really enjoy and support that.
But they see you are happy being you. And so they don't need to worry so much. But I think that's where people, if they truly are kind of speaking their truth, you don't have to explain yourself so much.
Yeah.
People don't really have to ask me about my family life because I'm with my family all the time. I mean, I wake up when I'm home, Brian sleeps in more than me. I wake up with my son. I love to get ready and talk with him and see what he's doing, and I love to get my kids off to school. I love being a mom. I love to take him out of school and take him to lunch and well, and by giving yourself permission to live how you wanted, though, you're showing up to your family, both your husband and your kids, in the best way that you can, too. Yeah. I think that's an important part of that. Yeah. I'm lucky that I married a man who our goal is to have a happy, fun life and family. That is our goal. And so however the road leads us to that goal, whether it's me traveling or him doing his work from home and him also having to balance my schedule, it's not easy, then we're on the right track as long as it's leading us to what our ultimate goal is. But it's definitely not making other people happy. Well, I love it. And it's been fun for me to watch from the sideline, just your transition over the 10 years that I've known you and kind of watch you do these cool things and watch Brian and you grow together. So I think people are going to get a ton out of this interview. I loved it. Your story's awesome. Keep kicking. I need to come to a Zumba class. So they're at like 10:30 here locally in the middle of the day, so it's hard for me. But I'm going to do it one of these days. I've been married to Brian for 15 years. I've been teaching Zumba for 10. He's never come to a class. Everybody has their strengths. Like, I really shouldn't be golfing. You know? Yeah, I see what you're getting at. I know where my strengths lie. Yeah. I shouldn't be playing basketball. But I always say, I think it's cool. Like, even I'll do events for work parties, bachelor parties, birthday parties. So it really is a way to have fun in a clean-cut fun for all boys and girls.
Well, I love it. Well, thank you again. If people here in Utah listening to this want to come to one of your classes, where do they find those at?
You can come to Vasa Fitness in Orem. I'm there Tuesday, Thursday, 10:30, but I travel anywhere and everywhere they want me. They just got to shoot me an email or find me on Instagram at Kass Martin with a K, an S, and a Martin.
Perfect. All right, excellent. And then your DVDs, they can pick up just on Amazon or online or anywhere.
Yeah. So you can find our latest DVD is actually Zumba Country. And oddly enough, super high ratings on the Zumba Country. I think it brings a different feel to Zumba. There's a bunch of different DVDs that you can find: Costco, Target, Walmart, Amazon, Zumba.com, of course. And what's cool about the country one is it's me, my sister Emily, my cousin Heather, two of my buddies, and it brings a little yeehaw to the workout.
I love it. Well, I'm going to go watch it and do it.
That's right. Start at home, and then you can come to class.
Perfect. Well, thanks again. That was awesome.
Thanks,
you.
Kass. You're awesome, Jimmy.